Hello. Welcome to Verified Mindset. I'm Jessica Haley, your host, and we have Greg Dickerson here. Greg is a serial entrepreneur, real estate developer, coach, and mentor. He has bought and developed and sold over $250 million in real estate, built and renovated hundreds of custom homes and commercial buildings, developed residential and mixed-use subdivisions, and started 12 different companies from the ground up. So Greg currently coaches and mentors some of the top entrepreneurs, real estate investors, and real estate developers around the world, helping them start, grow, and scale their businesses, raise more capital, and do bigger deals. Greg's current clients have over $2 billion in deals in process right now. So we are going to hear from one of the best in real estate and investing. And he's got all sorts of background in macro understanding and knowledge and in trading as well. So I'm so excited. We're here with Verified Mindset and Greg Dickerson. Greg, can you share a little bit about your background with everybody?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm your classic serial entrepreneur, real estate investor, and developer. I started with absolutely nothing in 1997. Built a little remodeling handyman company. My first year, we did $250,000 in sales. 7 years later, we were a $30 million building company and development company. I started 7 other companies along the way, built those up, scaled them, sold them off, and then reinvested everything else into other projects and scaled from there. I've done over $250 million worth of real estate deals, myself using my own money, my own financing, no partners. I've done hundreds of millions beyond that with partners and investors. I buy companies, build companies. I'm a co-founder in a tech startup right now. So I've been on the entrepreneurial path since 1997. I did not go to college. Like I said, I started from absolutely nothing. When I graduated high school, I joined the Navy. I did 4 years in the Navy from 85 to 89, studied retail in the Navy. So I had a little bit of business experience, basic accounting, things like that. In the Navy, what we did was we took care of all the stores on the ships, the vending machines, the barbershops, the laundry, things like that. So, that was kind of in line with my entrepreneurial bent. And after I got out of the military, I did 2 things, restaurants and construction. So I was a manager in restaurants, and, I learned how to be a leader, delegator, motivator, how to manage people, how to get results out of teams and people. And I learned how to watch the numbers. The restaurant business is all about squeezing a nickel out of a penny. So that was a very good business for budgets and numbers and systems and operations and procedures and people, right? So my philosophy is people, operations, profit. But if you go back to childhood, I'm your natural born entrepreneur. So when I was a kid, my dad was military, career military. My mom worked for Blue Cross Blue Shield. So there were no entrepreneurs in my family, nobody in my family that had any kind of business success or investing success, none of that. But what he taught me was hard work. So my dad went in the military, enlisted, came out an officer. He scrapped his way up, worked hard. So he taught me that. And when I was a kid, I'm talking elementary school, if I wanted something, he would tell me, well, you go figure out how to get it. You go figure out how to make the money. He wouldn't give me the money. So I had to go knock on doors, at my neighbors' houses. Hey, I'll cut your grass. I'll rake your yard. I'll wash your car, walk your dog, babysit your, whatever you need. I need to make some money. I live down the street, so that's kind of how I learned how to make money, how to create something out of nothing. The other thing I learned, my dad, if in the off season, like if I was busy at school when I was younger, or if it was wintertime and there was no work to be had and I needed money, well, he would lend me money. He would keep an account of it and I would have to pay it back. So whenever I did work, during the season or when I had time, he would take a percentage of my earnings to pay off the debt that I owed him. And I also had to pay him for using his equipment and the gasoline and all that. If I used his lawnmower, fast forward to becoming a teenager, learning how to drive. If I used his vehicle, I had to bring it back with a full tank of gas. So it was really funny on weekends. I always, picked the vehicle up. When I went to get the car, it was empty. So I had to bring it back with a full tank. So he got to ride to work all week, on my gas. So anyways, those were the lessons that, I learned at a young age, how to create something out of nothing. If you want something, figure out a way to go get it, how to work hard. I mean, I did all the chores around the house on the outside, literally by hand, manually trimming the, yard with edgers, using a manual push edger, using brooms and rakes. We didn't have blowers. We didn't have weed eaters. Did have a lawnmower, so that was good. When I was real little, it was just a push lawnmower, no gas. And then we did get a gas mower at one point, but yeah, he taught me the value of hard work with manual labor.
Wow. What an incredible story. I had no idea when you started talking that you were going to drop so many gems. I just wrote down a couple things that I thought were really, really valuable to go back to. People, operations, profits. So walk me through that.
Yeah, that's my business philosophy. So there's two things in business. Number one, I'm an efficiency expert. I want to make the most amount of money with the least amount of time, energy, and effort possible. So that is my business philosophy. And you do that through others by putting people first. So if you focus on the people, most everything else will take care of itself. So once you have the people under control, in terms of your focus and your priorities, then you focus on the operations. And that's systems, that's operations, that's KPIs, that's benchmarks, that's all of the little things that make a business run. If you take care of those first two things, the profit's going to be there. So the first thing, the most important thing is people. And it's not just people in your company, it's your clients, your customers, your vendors, it's everybody in a business. And as a leader, it's up to me to give the organization everything it needs to be successful. So when you're in the military, it's top-down leadership, right? The captain of the ship and, the commanding officer under him, there's this huge chain of command, and you're at the bottom when you join. Well, the interesting thing is in business, a lot of business leaders, and it used to be back in the day, everybody was afraid of the big CEO. What I did and why I was so successful so fast in business was because I flipped it upside down. I learned how to be a leader from the bottom up, what leadership from the bottom up looked like. And, that's where the leader has to serve the organization at every level, give everybody everything they need, tools, training, systems, and support to be successful. But more importantly, clear direction and know in certain terms exactly what's expected and when. Then you measure that performance, you hold it accountable to the goals. And then, based on the outcome, you redirect, reset, or you move to the next level. So, in a nutshell, that's kind of my management philosophy, but it's all about people. It's all about catching people doing things right, rewarding good performance, sharing everybody's individual success. When we win, the team wins. When we lose, I did. So it's on me when it doesn't go well. It's on the team when it does go well. So those are the basic fundamentals of leadership that, have really changed over the years in terms of putting people first. And then, you focus on the operations, systems, procedures, processes, things like that to be as efficient and profitable as possible. And then that ultimate outcome will lead to, max profits.
Wow. Okay, so you've pretty much just been groomed to be an entrepreneur your entire life with it sounded like the framework that your dad kind of instilled inside of you how young did you start doing all of this stuff?
So, fifth grade. So what are you, 10, 11 years old? So yeah, I was 10, 11 years old. I would literally go around the neighborhood pushing my lawnmower with a gas can. And if your grass was long, I'd be knocking on your door. And I would do that on Saturdays and Sundays. And then in the fall and winter, it was raking yards. I lived in Pensacola, Florida at the time, 5th grade to 11th grade. And, there were huge pine trees. So pine needles were a big thing. So I'd go rake pine needles. I had a big rake and I'd just carry it around and just knock on doors. And I'd go from door to door with a tarp and a rake, and I'd rake your yard. And then when I figured out, that I could really make money, I started hiring my friends to come work for me. So you'd pay me $20, I'd get it done in an hour. I'd pay my friend $5 to help me for an hour. So I made $15, and then we could do, twice as many houses. So I kind of learned how to leverage, and how to lead and, how to get my friends to help me. So, those were little things. And then I did the silly stuff. Like I'd buy candy in bulk and I'd go to school and sell it by the piece, like 10 cents a piece for Jolly Ranchers or, whatever it was back then. And so I made some money doing that. And then, my dad would pay me for little chores around the house. If I didn't owe him money and have to work it off, he'd pay me like for splitting wood. So like he would get me up on Saturday mornings at 6 o'clock and we'd go out in the woods and we'd cut down trees and we'd bring them home. And I'd have to split the logs into, little firewood pieces, literally with an axe and with a sledgehammer and a wedge. So we had no power splitters or anything like that. I was the power splitter. So it kept me in shape, and it taught me the value of hard work. I'd be splitting wood all day long and maybe make $5. He'd give me like 25 cents a log or something.
Wow. Okay, so when did you start moving into some of the big entrepreneurial ventures that you jumped into, especially in real estate?
Yeah, so that was 1997. So I moved to the Outer Banks of North Carolina in 1997. And I moved there to open a restaurant. I wanted to open a restaurant. So I ended up working in the restaurant industry the first year, and I didn't like that at all. So, and during that time, I bought a little house and I was trying to get some work done on it. Nobody would call you back, right? Everybody was so busy. This was 1997, pre-boom, before the 2008, 2009 bust. And, before the 2001 .com bubble. So I couldn't get anybody to do any work. So I was talking to my neighbors and they're like, oh yeah, everybody's so busy that they just won't even call you back. They're like, it's just nuts. And I said, I've got some skills. Maybe I'll start a little company and, I can kind of, where there's a problem, there's an opportunity, right? And the bigger the problem, the bigger opportunity. So that's why I created that company, because I couldn't get anybody to do stuff for me. And I figured, well, if I can't, nobody else can. So I'll fill that niche. So I started out doing little remodeling handyman work, and I created the company, and I put on my card, "We will call you back." That was my tagline because it was like a thing down there on the Outer Banks. Nobody would return a phone call. So started that little company, grew and scaled that. But the real pivotal point for me was what I learned through the military and what I learned in the restaurant business. You have to educate yourself. You have to pour into yourself, develop your mindset. And I studied all of the, old greats like Zig Ziglar, Jim Rohn, Tony Robbins, back when they were all first getting started. I was consuming all their stuff and really developing a mindset. So, all the way back to when, it was cassette tapes, the Sony Walkman. So I had all those personal, professional development, business development on tape. I had all of those courses from all of those, Brian Tracy, all those guys. And then it became the CD Walkman, and then it was the 80 gig iPod. I still have my 80 gig iPod full of business books, personal, professional development. So I was just constantly developing myself. Even though I didn't go to college, I'm very highly self-educated. So I learned the power of books and finding mentors through books and developing myself through books. And in the restaurant industry, when I was working with this one company, they made us read a series of books for management and leadership. And, that's where I really learned, wow, how much you could really get out. I didn't know. I didn't go to college. I didn't know what you could get out of books. So, and I also learned through that experience that, I didn't know anything. You don't know what you don't know. And all you know is what you know. And the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know. The further you go, the more you realize how much further you can go. And that's what's so cool about all that, is that it just never ends. So the pivotal point for me was when I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Have you ever read that book?
I have.
So a lot of people have read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Most people get real estate out of that book. They want to be like Robert Kiyosaki and they want to go own real estate, right? When I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I saw Rich Dad. I wanted to be him. But number one, he was the guy that had all the businesses that generated all the cash flow so he could invest in all these other assets. So that's what I saw was the path. What I also saw was, what I am. He was a coach. He was a mentor. He was teaching everybody. Everybody was coming to him with opportunities and needing help and things like that, which is where your opportunities are created. So that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be Rich Dad. So that's what I did. So I read that book, and I read The Power of Positive Thinking by Norman Vincent Peale. And those two books together, and then How to Win Friends and Influence People and Think and Grow Rich. So those were my 4 fundamental books that really shaped my entrepreneurial journey. So the other stuff that I studied and learned was during my career and, post-career W-2 job. When I stepped out on my own in 1997, I put everything I learned into action, and I started building my company. And that's how I went from 0 to 30 million in 7 years with no money. I mean, I had no money. I didn't have any backers, didn't have anything. I used credit cards. I used creative financing. I used the cash flow from all my businesses that I would reinvest in the business and reinvest in these other assets, and just kind of grew from there. So, that's kind of the evolution of how I did that and how it happened. And, it was really, if it wasn't for those books and, and then I pursued some other developmental work from there, bringing consultants into my company, bringing coaches into my companies and things like that for different aspects for my people. But not only did I develop myself, I developed my people and my team as we grew and as we went along, including the subs and vendors and suppliers that I worked with. But, that was really the key was, what I learned is number one, you want to be an investor, not a business owner, not a, self-employed person, not an employee. You want to evolve to the scale of investor. And you want to be Rich Dad. You want to own all of the assets that pay you. You want to own all of the businesses that pay you so you can reinvest and continue to grow from there. And if there was something that you wanted to purchase and consume, you go create it through a business or through cash flow to pay for all of the things that you want in your life. So that was kind of my entrepreneurial evolution in terms of, going from 0 to 30 million overnight, starting 7 other companies at the same time. And also in 2004, I was about 80 pounds heavier than I am now. I was a lifelong smoker. And in 2004, I started smoking literally when I was in middle school. And so I quit smoking and lost weight at the same time. Once again, a whole mindset shift and journey and, into a health transformation while my companies were peaking and I sold off, my first company. I went through this huge transformation, got healthy, and I mean, I started out lean and healthy as a teenager and a young adult. And then I got married, I got fat, and didn't eat healthy. And when I was building my companies, I just didn't pay attention to my health. And then at one point, my youngest daughter looked at me and poked me in the belly. She's like, "Dad, you're fat." And, my kids and friends, neighbors would get on me about smoking. I didn't smoke around them or in the house or anything like that, but they knew it and they would always get on me about it. And one year, I decided I was going to quit, and that was 2004. And, I haven't looked back ever since. So I don't drink, don't smoke. I work out every day. I'm in the gym at 6:30 every morning, every single day. I get exercise beyond that. I'm active in things. And, so all of that was all, part of it. The other thing, while I was doing all of that, so when I was building that company from 0 to 30 million, when I started those other companies, I was also on the board of several nonprofits. I was a leader in my church, teaching Sunday school. I was a leader in the Home Builders Association, volunteering for all kinds of stuff. I was home every night for dinner. I was, off on weekends. I took 4 weeks off a year. I didn't miss anything my kids did. I was at all of their events. I coached all their sports, all of that, all at the same time. So, that to me is what's really cool about my journey, was being able to do so much so fast, all at the same time, but still have a good lifestyle to be able to do whatever I wanted to do, whenever I wanted to do with my kids and my family, and be there for them, every single day for all of their stuff. So that's kind of my long story short.
Okay, so I need to know, because I know that there's going to be people that are watching this that are going to say the exact same thing. How did you go and do all of those things at the exact same time while still having work-life balance, while still being able to, show up for your family, while still being able to quit smoking, take care of your health, do all of the things? How? Like, what do you attribute that to?
Yeah, so I'm a leader, delegator, motivator. So I did it through others. I did it by finding great people and coaching them to success and letting them do their job. So that was the main way I did it in my main company. And then in all of the other companies I had, I didn't run any one thing. Once I stepped out of the day-to-day, so when I started, it was just me, my truck, and tools. And then I hired, a part-time office manager, bookkeeper, to take that off of me, because I was literally doing it by hand. I didn't even have a computer when I first started in 1997, 98. I had a literal, hand journal that I would keep the books, and I would write handwritten estimates, for the project. So I was doing it all. And then I hired a part-time office manager, bookkeeper. And then once I hired her, then I was able to hire somebody in the field to help me. Then I hired another person in the field. And then on my third one, they became, the crew leader. And then I stepped out of the field completely, and I was just doing sales. And then my office manager, bookkeeper went full time. So that was my first company. And then the rest of the companies came from people either approaching me, wanting to do a deal together. They already had a business and they wanted to, scale it, or they were in trouble and needed help. And I would come in and buy them, or I'd partner with them and I would just blow them up and scale them by teaching them how to be leader, delegator, motivators, how to build great teams, how to find great people and coach them to success. And, my one main company, my building company, again, remodeling handyman company, switching to a building company. I'd never built a house before I started building multi-million-dollar beach houses. These were all short-term rentals on the coast of Outer Banks of North Carolina. These were $1 million plus beach houses. I'd never done that before. So what did I do? I went and found the best people in the area that had been doing it for 20 years before I ever got there, that were working for the biggest company on the beach. And I hired them to come work with me and to build this company with me and for me. But, the key is I found great people that were qualified, that knew how to do what I wanted to do. They were my mentors. I learned from them. I put them in the right roles, and I let them do their job. And that's where a lot of people make mistakes, right? A lot of people have these egos and they're threatened by their employees, things like that. And they're threatened by, other people around them. I want to find people that are better than me, smarter than me, who have been where I want to go. And I would learn from them. But more importantly, I let them do their job. I didn't try to, if you want to win the Super Bowl and you bring Tom Brady to Tampa, you don't bring Tom Brady to Tampa and say, okay, now here's how you're going to do it. You bring Tom Brady to Tampa and say, I want to win a Super Bowl, go do it. So that's what I did. I found great people in all of my businesses and all of that, and I let them do their job, and I gave them what they needed to be successful: tools, training, systems, and support, and clear direction, feedback. And then I measured that performance, and I rewarded good performance. They shared in the profits along the way in the journey. So, that's how I was able to do that. The health transformation was different, but that's how I was able to do that.
You just said so many gems just now. I think the analogy that drove it home the most was, you don't bring Tom Brady to Tampa and then tell him how to do his job. Like that's so huge, because the fact that you were able to identify talent like that and then develop it, really see the talent and then develop it, pour into it, be able to incentivize it to continue to, evolve and advance and be, creating win-win scenarios, right? Like if you don't create win-win scenarios, then people aren't going to be inspired to continue to, produce at their highest level. So that's so interesting though. I wrote that down: leader, delegator, motivator. So wow, I love that philosophy. Okay, so that makes a lot of sense on how you were able to go build what you were able to build. Now, when it comes to the health and it comes to, quitting, those are two really mental things that you had to overcome in the midst of also having a lot on your plate. Although I will say this, just to make this reflection back to you, it takes a very special person to be able to do all the things that you just did. You are extremely self-aware, and you're very conscious and aware of other people. And you probably are really, really good with people and able to feel them out, see them, not just like look at them, but see who they are and what they bring to the table, what lights them up like a Christmas tree. Like you're able to see people. And I think that when you're producing at a high level like that, and you're able to really like operate and show up, and you're leading from the front every single day, when it comes to stepping into that on your own and getting your health in check and getting your, quitting something, you almost have this layer of accountability, because you've got all these people that you're motivating and you're inspiring and you're showing up for every single day. If you don't show up for yourself, it's almost like hypocritical. So I almost feel like you have to do that. It's like you're putting yourself in a position to show up at your highest level anyway. So, but I'm curious what that thought process was when you decided, because it took a decision. There was pain or pleasure there that pulled you to a decision on quitting and getting your health back in check. What was that decision, and walk me through that thought process?
Yeah. And so I didn't know anything about nutrition. I was athletic when I was a kid and young adult, and I, played a lot of sports. So that kind of kept me in shape, and where I didn't really have to worry about nutrition. Like literally, I did not know drinking a soda or drinking milk or whatever was calories. I didn't know that. I didn't know calories in, calories out. I didn't know sugars and fats and this and that and the other. So I knew zero about nutrition. I would just literally, I didn't even eat breakfast most days. I'd get up and just drink sugared up coffee, and I'd eat a huge lunch at lunch. And for me, lunch was like Burger King or McDonald's or whatever. A healthy lunch was the chicken sandwich instead of a burger. That was my idea. But I'd still get the extra large fries and the drink and all that. So when I decided when it got to the point to where I love surfing, I'm a lifelong surfer, I was very athletic, but it got to the point to where I was getting winded walking up the stairs, to my office. And my kids were making fun of me, poking me in the belly, and it was all cute and funny for a while there, until it got to be to where I couldn't enjoy myself. I couldn't go out and surf and keep up with my friends and things like that. So I decided, I wanted to get healthy for my kids. I didn't want them to see the example I was setting. So I wanted to be healthy for them. I wanted to be able to, enjoy sports. I love skiing, surfing, those things, and not be tired and winded. So I just got sick of it. I just got to the point, and that's the key. So everything I did, there's two things. One, you got to see it before you can be it. So when it came to the business and all of that, literally, I had to visualize everything I was doing, because, I didn't know until I got there. I didn't know I could do those things until I got there and realized there are no limits. You can do whatever you want. So I saw myself, and I saw the vision for all these companies. But the most important thing you said was, I understand people. I've got a very gift of discernment with people and understanding people. And I'm sincerely, genuinely interested in people, and I care about people. And that's what I do, and that's why I am what I am. And, not just in business, but my community and philanthropic activities as well. I do a lot there because, I care and I want to help people succeed, and, those types of things. So you have to visualize it. You have to be generally interested in other people's success above and ahead of yours. And, Zig Ziglar, help other people get what they want, you'll get what you want. And a lot of the management stuff I talked about was sincere, coming from a sincere place, not a manipulative place, in terms of caring about people and helping people feel good about themselves in a sincere way, not a manipulative way, so that they produce better results. So, that's where all of that came from. But from the health standpoint, I got to a point to where, I was just sick of being there. So the most important thing in life for most people is you got to figure out what it is you want. Once you figure out what it is you want, the doing is the easy part. The hardest thing for most people is to make up their mind what it is they want. I made up my mind. I'm sick of smoking. I want to be healthy. I want to participate in these activities. I don't want to be I don't want to shorten my life for my kids. I want to be there. That's what I wanted. And what you want has to become more important than what you're doing and where you are if you need to make a life change and like instantly flip the switch. And, smoking is a chemical addiction. So, one year for Christmas, my kids gave me this little patch, a 3-step patch system, the nicotine patch. And this was, 2004, almost 20 years ago now. And I used it. I put it away. The following year, I made up my mind, this is what I want. And I decided I was going to do it. I used the patch for like a week. On the 7th day, I forgot to put the patch on and I never looked back. So that kind of helped with the addictive chemical addiction first week. I did use that patch. But other than that, it was cold turkey. I just quit and decided I'm never turning back. I'd tried to quit several times before that, but I never made up my mind. I never committed and made the decision, I'm quitting. I'm telling you, the most important thing, the hardest thing is to make up your mind, decide what you want. Once you do that, the rest of it's easy. And, that was the hardest, journey for me up to that point. But once I decided, that was it. I quit. So then what I started doing was I replaced the habit of smoking with a habit of fitness and nutrition. So I educated myself. And everything that you do, no matter where you want to be, you've got to educate yourself. You got to find people that have been where you want to be, doing what you want to do. You need mentors, you need coaches, you need guides. So, I found the right mentors when it came to nutrition. I found the right information when it came to exercise. And then I started on my journey of doing things. And it started very simple. The first thing I did was cut out regular sodas and started drinking diet sodas. That's still not great, but at least it was no calories, right? I dropped 20, 30 pounds just with that shift alone. Wow. I didn't drink alcohol anyway, so I didn't have to worry about that. Once I got through my partying years, I just haven't really drank alcohol. I don't drink at all now. And I also knew that a lot of people that quit smoking gain weight. And I had a neighbor. This is the other thing that helped. I had a neighbor, was a good friend of mine. He owned the Dairy Queens and a couple of hotels down there in the area. He was huge. He was 500 pounds. And I remember I went from a 32-inch waist to a 38. I was busting out of my 38s at my peak weight. And I looked at him one day out in the yard and I was like, man, if I don't stop, I'm going to be like that. Because I was heading in that direction, and so that also helped, make up my mind too, watching him. He ended up dying in his 50s of pancreatic cancer because of his weight problem. And, I tried to help him at one point. But anyways, long story short, first thing I did was cut out the regular sodas. I learned about nutrition. I learned about exercise. I started slow. I started walking an hour a day. Then I started getting back into the gym again. I'm into martial arts. So I started training martial arts again. I did that as a kid coming up. So I was always lean and in good shape. I got away from it as a young adult and got back into it. And so again, making the commitment, deciding this is important. So, what I had to do is I had to get up at 5:30 every day so that I could be in the gym by 6, or it wouldn't get done because I was coaching my kids. I was doing all these other things. I didn't have time in the afternoons or evenings to go work out, because even though I was home every night and all that other stuff, I still worked 10 hours a day. I mean, I was still there, doing what I did here and there, not literally at a desk or anything, but checking jobs, talking to people, going to the banks, doing what needs to be done in business, coaching people, doing what I did in my business like I do now. So even now, that's why I do it, my workout first thing in the morning. Number one, if I don't, it won't get done because my days, there's just so many things that pop up, especially with 3 kids. Number two, it's a win first thing. So I get up, I make my bed, and I get that, I drink a black cup of coffee that gives me my high octane, and I'm in the gym and I get that win right out of the gate, no matter how I feel, no matter what the weather's doing, other than when I had COVID one time. But if I'm healthy enough to crawl out of bed, I'm in that gym at 6:30 every morning now. But it was 5:30 when my kids were little because I had to be home to get them to school, because I was the one that took them to school every day. That was our special time together. So, it just comes back to that commitment. So it started with educating myself, making the decision, educating myself, learning about nutrition, learning about fitness, and then, sticking to that commitment and understanding it was a lifestyle change. And my change was so fast and so dramatic, just like my businesses. People were like stopping me going, man, are you okay? Did you get cancer or something? Because I had changed so fast. And I was like, no, I just decided to get healthy. I'm actually healthier than I've ever been in my whole life. And, people thought I was sick. It was really funny. When you lose that much weight that fast, it kind of shocks people.
Wow. This story is so inspiring. And okay. So with all of the wins that you've had in your life, because you have really, you're the type of person that I love talking to, because when I hear stories like this, you never stop creating. You never stop. We think like what, 70 to 80,000 thoughts per day, and about 80 to 90% of them are the same as yesterday. And in order to change the reality that you want for the future, one, you have to have that clear picture. You have to start mentally rehearsing that picture. You have to start visualizing. You have to start actually moving. You have to be conscious and aware of the thoughts that you're actually thinking so that you can alter the ones that are not serving you any longer. And you have done such a beautiful job of doing that your entire career and your entire life, really. Every single time you saw a reality, because it's internal cause, external effect, right? So every time you saw something in your external you wanted to shift, you said, okay, what story do I need to go reprogram, or what new habit do I need to put in place? What habit do I need to swap out for this habit that's not serving this growth and evolution that I want to go have? So you did that so many times in your life. I mean, just through the last stories, the last half an hour, I just went through years of stories of all of the reframes that you've done in your life, all the new habit changes, all of the new upgrades that you had to your reality based off of internal cause, external effect, and really going in and rewriting these different neuro pathways and these different habit loops. So
and it all starts here. It all starts here.
It's unreal. It's so beautiful. And I want to go down a road where I want to hear some of the adversity that you've overcome, because I know that it's not all been puppy dogs, roses, and rainbows. You've definitely have taken adversity. I already know you're going to tell me an adversity story, and you're going to show me all of the highlights out of it, because your brain doesn't operate in a way that focuses on contrast for very long, because you use that as clarity. Like there is no good or bad. It's all just there to stretch and train and serve us. And so the contrast of something, whether it be something that it's unwanted, that contrast is there to give us clarity to then go create with. And so you have done a very beautiful job of reframing contrast in this beautiful way, to where you don't really experience a lot of adversity, because you see it as growing pains. You see it as growth and evolution. You see it as, okay, what training do I need in order to go to the next level? So I say adversity in a sense of, I already know you're going to give me the like beautiful reframe of all of it, but I want people to be able to also relate they're a brand new investor, a brand new, a person that's starting from scratch, maybe that doesn't have anything, that wants to have all the mental tools, that wants to have all of the ability to go out and build an empire like you have done, to be able to lead people like you have done. Where would you tell them to start? And what would you say has kind of been one of the biggest kind of rocking moments that have trained you to, or that have tested you a little bit, that you have overcome, and that you could kind of share with people on how you were able to do that?
Yeah. So I've always been a little bit different in that sense, that I don't focus on, adversity. And maybe it's, from childhood, maybe it's from martial arts at a young age, the training that I've had. I just do. I don't think, I just do. Now, when I say don't think, I plan, I prepare, think it, speak it, do it. That's how success, it starts with an idea, then faith in it, then the means to implement it. I mean, that's how success proceeds.
Okay, hold on. Go back. That was too good of a gem to go back. Say that for the people in the back. For the people in the back.
Think it, speak it, do it. So the way success proceeds is it's an idea. Ideas are where everything that we are, that's where everything's created. It all starts with an idea. There's nothing in this world that did not start with an idea. Truth. Even God, when he created the world, it was an idea. I'm going to create the world. So, it all starts with ideas, and you have to have faith in that idea. You have to believe in it. You got to believe in yourself, but you got to believe in the idea, what it is you're doing, and then the means to implement it. So that's where you go about the task of, how do I make this happen? And this is the big thing that I just said, how. A lot of people will get stopped or let themselves get stopped with, I can't. So there's something they want to do, or they see somebody doing something, and they're like, I can't do that, or I'll never be able to do that. So what I've always done is the opposite. How can I? What do I need to do? Who do I need to know? Who do I need to meet? Where do I need to be to make these things happen? So for me, there really is no adversity, because no matter what it is you want to do, 9 times out of 10, unless you're Elon Musk or Bill Gates or the people that have created the inventions of our lifetime, somebody else has gone before you and done it. All you got to do is find that out and re-engineer their path. So there's mentors out there, there's coaches, courses, programs. You can read a book, and that's what I did. So whatever I wanted to do, I went and found, the people that did it before me. Now, adversity, sure. So I lost $600,000 on an investment in 8 months. I opened a restaurant. I let somebody else do it. I just kind of didn't pay attention to it and didn't do what I know how to do in business, and I ended up losing $600,000 in 8 months. So people would call that adversity. You'd call that a setback, whatever. To me, it was just a stupid business decision, right? So like a lot of people will say things happen for a reason. Sure, but sometimes you do dumb stuff. So to me, it was a mistake. It was dumb. I refocused, went back to what I knew, and I made it all back and then some, like in the next 3 or 4 months. I mean, it's just kind of one of those things. And sometimes you need those little shakeups to kind of help refocus you, and things like that. But I've had challenges in business where 2008 and 9. So I went through 2008 and 9. If you talk about adversity and challenges and things like that. And even before that, so I started out at 2000, 2001. I wasn't in the markets yet, but a lot of my clients were. So I was doing work for very successful entrepreneurs, very successful business leaders. They were buying and building beach houses down on the Outer Banks for millions of dollars. I was working for those people. So I'd ask them good questions. I would learn from them. I'd ask them what they did, how they did it, how they got there. So I learned from people. Ask good questions. There's 2 things that come from that. One, people will know how much you know by the questions you ask. Number 2, you ask good, deeper questions like you're doing today, right now. Hey, stop. Can you unpack that? Ask good, deeper questions. That's where you really get into the intimacy of learning, and where learning can become action and transform into the real world. So, that's how I did that. But anyways, that was the 2000, 2001. And I remember a lot of them, half of them were, I'm cashing out and I'm putting it into real estate. The other half lost it. So I saw 2 sides of that story in 2000, 2001. So I learned some really good lessons there. Things don't always go up forever. And then I was, living through the 2000 through the 2008, 9, boom. Our market peaked in 2004, 2005. I saw that, sold everything I had in 04, 05. And then, things started picking back up 06, 07. So I jumped back in. And then when 08, 09 hit, I had $30-40 million worth of construction loans out at the time. And I had permanent financing on the back end that was supposed to pay those off and put long-term financing in place once the construction was finished. And lo and behold, the bank started crashing. I didn't even know that was a thing. I didn't know that could happen. Didn't know. You don't know what you don't know.
Wow.
So I'm just rolling. Things only go up. They ain't making any more land. Just like now, housing prices kept going up. The markets were going up. Good times were just booming. And I was young. I didn't know, didn't remember the lessons of 2000, didn't listen to the old guys around me that went through the savings and loan crisis of, the 80s. I bought my first house in 1990 coming off the back of that. So I remember that was a sluggish real estate market. So my thinking was the markets only go up. Real estate only goes up. And then I found out, well, that's not the case. And then I found out what happens when banks are in trouble. So again, was that adversity? Was that, challenging times? Sure. But what I learned was how banks work and how they think. The other thing I learned is if you owe the bank $1 million, you're in trouble. If you owe the bank 40 million, they're in trouble. So that was a really good position to be in. And it was really interesting. I was going through that and people were like, man, how are you not stressed? Because people around me were losing everything. I mean, there were people killing themselves,
Wow.
because they were just losing everything, committing suicide. And, we were put out of business. My building company, there was no building to be done. So I had to shut my company down and pivot. Now I had money and I had cash flow and I had assets that were cash flowing. So I was able to get through it. But I had to work through a lot of properties that the banks were just calling the notes because they were failing. I didn't do anything wrong, didn't do anything different. Kind of like the pandemic. People got shut out of business and put out of business. They didn't do anything wrong, it just happened. So I learned a lot through that time. I learned a lot through 2000, 2001. I learned a lot through 08, 09. And, those lessons are what create fortunes as you move forward. So, things will happen. You'll face challenges. But to me, they've always been the experiences to grow. And I've always known, because I have a strong faith, the way I look at things is everything you're going through, can be used for your good, right? The Bible tells you that. Everything that you're going through now can be used for your good if you allow it, if you look at it from that lens. It can also destroy you, ruin you, and take you down if you allow it to and you look through it from that lens. So I'm always opportunistic. I'm always looking for the opportunities in every environment, every challenge, every situation, whether I'm winning or losing. I'm always looking for, how is this going to make me better? If there's something I want to do, how can I get there? If there's something I want to achieve, who do I need to know? What do I need to do? Where do I need to be to make these things happen? So that's the one thing I would challenge everybody. If there's something you want to do, never let yourself say, I can't do it, or that'll never happen. Ask yourself, how can I do it? How can I make it happen?
So I have this little thing at my desk, and it's like my drop the mic moment.
That's the money call. And, that works in trading too. I know that, your main thing is trading, and see with traders, man, that's an emotional roller coaster, right? It's a business cycle. And if you're trading short term, and it can be challenging. Some of the biggest mistakes I made back in 08, 09, I bought right at the bottom. So I'm not afraid to go in. That's me. I'm an opportunistic investor. I look for distressed situations in real estate, companies, and stocks. So Facebook recently, in the October, November bottom, Facebook got beat down to, I don't know, ultimately like $80. I bought it at 100 when it was falling off the cliff. So I identified an opportunity. That was a great company with serious cash flow that's been around a long time, that's not going anywhere anytime soon, that got, cut all the way down to like $100. It ended up dropping to $88, after I bought in at 100. So I knew it was coming back. You got to have the conviction. So when you believe in your idea, have the conviction and understand and, wait for it. Because I knew back in 08, 09, I sold some stuff too early. When I was playing around, I bought some stuff at the bottom of 08, 09, like literally right at the bottom, like Citibank for $1, Bank of America for like $1.20 or something, Ford for $1.19. I mean, really stupid numbers back then, but I sold them all too early. I didn't let them run up. So, and I watched them drop after I bought them and they came back. So this time with Facebook, when I saw it go down to 80, I just bought a little bit more, and then, I let it ride. So you have to understand what your idea is. You need to believe in your idea, and you need to just get after it, but also understand the risk and be able to handle the risk if it comes through. And trading can be that, emotional, because one day you have an idea and maybe you execute, maybe you don't. You go back and look at it the next day and you're like, I should have bought that. I could have done that. But, you can't do that, because you'll just beat yourself up. And everybody uses the sports analogies of, your baseball batting average and shots that you have to take on the basketball court and, things like that. But trading can be a little bit different, because it's money and people are emotionally attached when it comes to money. Real estate's the same way. But, at the end of the day, you got to have good ideas. If you have conviction in your idea, get after it, have the stomach to withhold, and know where, your risk is, and be able to afford that risk if it does, come to fruition.
I can't tell you like how much I appreciate this conversation, because I don't think we could have really gone down a better. I mean, the verified mindset is all about reframing. It's all about being able to see it from a different vantage point, a different perspective. It's all about really how to be the best human, because whether it's trading, whether it's real estate, whether it's any financial sector that you're in, we're all human. And if we have the opportunity to see from a perspective that's going to serve our greatest growth and evolution, like what you said earlier, like, it's not that we're going through something, it's we're growing through something. It's like, how can I look for the opportunity in this? And if we always see that through that frame, and yes, we're also human, and we're going to have human emotions, and we're going to have moments where, we feel fear, doubt, and worry, and we go through red zone moments and all of that. But it's the choice to not stay there for long, extended periods of time, to where we condition our body to feel normal there. It's about really realizing that habits, or that emotions are habits, and they're a choice as well. And if you really, really lock in, if you go to the gym every single day, your brain is, in your mind and your body there, it's going to get so conditioned to be there every single day that it's almost going to feel weird when you're not there. So that's exactly what our mindset is too. So if you practice and condition your habits and your emotions and your mind every single day, then it's going to feel weird when you're in the red. You're almost like, wait, why am I looking at it like this? This is strange. This is not who I am any longer. But it takes mental conditioning in order to like get to that point. And if that's not something that we're trained to do, and we also have this negative subconscious, this physiology that's programmed to keep us the same and safe, and it's there to actually help us in our human evolution to not get eaten by tigers and lions and bears and things like that. So like it's there to program and to keep us safe, but we have to be very conscious and aware of that too, so that we're not falling into that category of staying safe, that category of not advancing. And I kind of picture the picture in my mind of when you walk from the shallow into the deep end, and when your toes can start barely touching, that's kind of when your body wants to revert back. And really, if you just realize that you can float, then you're all good. But that faith and that trust and that knowing in yourself is something that you have to build trust in, because, the first time you walk from the shallow to the deep end, your toes can barely touch, you start kind of freaking out if you're not a good swimmer yet. And so you have to build that self-trust. You have to know and have that faith that all you have to do is fill up your air with lungs and lay back, and you're like, wow, I can actually float in all of this. But that takes, you can't just like walk from the shallow into the deep end when you're a kid and just like know that. Like, it takes some walking. It's training wheels on a bike. You have to ride the bike with training wheels a little bit first, and then you start to get good at it. So it's just, I really love this conversation so much, because you have practiced for so many years being in that green zone energy, being in that grounded, energy, constantly reframing your mind in that perspective that there's always opportunity in everything. And I just appreciate.
Well, the other thing too is what happens a lot of times. So when things go wrong, when you're facing adversity, challenges, and things aren't going your way, you got to step back and look at it and ask yourself why. And it's always going to come back to you. You're the leader, right? So whatever it is, whether it's an organization, a business, a trade, whatever, you're the leader. So you have to evaluate that, that situation. And that goes back to my whole people thing. If you're not getting the result you're looking for, why not? So you got to look at where's the breakdown, what's going on, where is the lesson? Like you said, how can I float through this instead of sinking and drowning? I need to not drown. How am I going to keep from doing that? So that helps you kind of reframe and think about what you're doing. So when you're facing a challenge, or a trade's going wrong, or a business isn't going right, whatever it is, understand, okay, where is the lesson in this? What went wrong? What can I learn from it? And most people look for who to blame, whether it's yourself or somebody else. And one of the things I always did in all my companies, whenever something went wrong, the first thing I always said, look, I don't care who did it. I just want to know what happened so we can fix it, put a system in place so it doesn't happen again. So if you're trading and you're losing in a trade, figure out what happened, write it down, put a system in place. Don't blame yourself and beat yourself up. Put that system in place. What's the lesson you can learn from it? And if you do that, man, you'll get better. If you do it in a business, and you'll get better. If you do it with people, and when it comes to people, when you're hiring, leading, building a team, and you're not getting the results you're looking for, you got to ask yourself, why not? And it's either going to be a breakdown in that tools, training, systems, and support. You're going to have two kinds of people: can't do, won't do. If it's a can't do, well, then that's on you. Did you not give them what they needed? And if you did, do you have the right person in the right role? That's a big mistake a lot of people make too. If your trading is not going well, maybe you're not trading the way that works best for you. So you need to understand, not every system, not every style works for everybody. I'm not a, short-term trader. I like to make big moves, fewer, bigger moves. Same thing with real estate, but some people like to do a lot of deals, or a lot of trades. So you got to figure out what style works best with your personality, with the way you operate, the way you live your life. Same thing with people. And then when you have people that are won't do's, well, you get rid of them, because you can't fix a won't do. So, it's kind of neat how all of that kind of works and relates and mixes in. And, I love the analogy of the floating, because, whenever there's a situation that's not working out, ask yourself why, and take a good, honest look at the, from the 1,000-foot view of what's happening, so that you can figure it out and forget the who. Let's figure out why. What happened, fix it, put a system in place, learn from it, and then move on. And then embrace. Here's the other thing. As an entrepreneur, like you hear a lot of people complain, this happened, that happened, this is hard. As an entrepreneur, I look for problems. Why? Where there's a problem, there's an opportunity. The bigger the problem, the bigger the opportunity. So as an entrepreneur, I look forward to problems. I look forward to those challenges, because I know that that's the stuff where greatness comes from. Greatness comes from trial, tribulations, challenges. There ain't nothing in this world that got built, without having to face some sort of trial, some sort of challenge, some sort of refinement process. That's just how it works. So look forward to those challenges. Look forward to those, those trials and tribulations and those opportunities, because that's what they are. And the bigger they hit, the bigger the reward is on the other side. If you use it correctly, learn from it, document it, and then move forward.
Absolutely. So there's a few things I wrote down when you were talking, because there was just so many like little thought bubbles popping up. I was like, oh my gosh, we have to go back to visualization. We have to go back to green zone. We have to.
We might have to do some
whole page of like all the things we have to.
I do have a 4 o'clock.
I know. So many gems. This is so good. Oh my God. So good. Okay. So there's thoughts to things is one of my favorite. Taking an idea and turning it into real life, into something in the physical is just, it's the coolest thing to me. So one, because you could have picked any thought and you could have turned it into a thing, but you chose this one. Why? And then that whole process of taking that thought and turning it into a thing, the amount of focus and attention and energy and intention that goes into that. And then the person that you become along that path is so cool. And the things that you come up against and the things that you stretch and grow. What was the like one thing that you have turned from a thought to a thing on your path that was like, wow, I look back on that and that really made me who I am today in so many ways? Is there one that stands out to you?
Yeah, taking that first step. The other thing is ideas are the highest form of compensation. So idea makers, idea creators, that's the highest paid skill in the world. The people that come up with ideas, and movies, they're ideas. The iPhone was an idea. NVIDIA, that was an idea. That's where the big dollars are created, through ideas. So for me, it was really the idea that I can go start my own business and sustain. And when I did my first project, I remember it was a little deck that I built for a restaurant, little 500 or 100 square foot deck to put a refrigerator on. And I don't know, I made like $500 in a half a day. And I remember doing that, thinking this idea of starting my business. Okay, people were saying there's a problem, nobody would call you back. So I had this idea. Well, I can go start a business. I'm handy. I can go, what do you need to do to put that idea into action? Well, I need to create a name. So I found a name that made it sound like I'd been there forever. Outer Banks Construction. Nobody had that name. So now that I have a name, what do you need to do? I needed to go file that name with the county so nobody else could take it. Then what do you need? Well, you need to go create some business cards. And then, well, how do you get business? Well, I have this idea. I want to go create this business to make money. I didn't even know how. I didn't know what. So I just started telling people, you think it, you speak it, then you do it. So I started telling people, hey, I started a little remodeling handyman company. If you need any work done, or if you know anybody that needs any work done, here's my card. I will call you back. And they, boom, Outer Banks Construction. Man, you've been here a long time, haven't you? Well, yeah, I've been there a year, but it's not like I've been there forever. So, that for me, that was the pivotal moment in my life when I never looked back. I've been self-employed entrepreneur ever since. And once I realized I could do that, I knew I could do anything. The problem was I didn't know how much I could do at the time. If I had me back then, gosh, it'd be lights out by now. From a financial standpoint, it already is, but I could have been billions, versus what I ended up doing, hundreds of millions. And I just didn't know what I didn't know back then. So I started with where I was, what I had, and I started that little company, and I just, took the path. But, that was really the pivotal moment when I realized that I could actually pay my bills, sustain a lifestyle, grow, have whatever I want by just putting that little idea into action. And that was it. That was the idea for my first company. That was the big one.
Wow, that's really, really cool. I love that. Okay, so oh my gosh, which road do I want to go down? Which road? Okay, this is the road that there's two. Okay, so the first one is visualization. So you mentioned that earlier, and I want to know, because I have my own process when it comes to visualization, and I visualize every single morning, and it's one of my favorite things to do. Right when I first open up my eyes, and I have a process where I actually have this specific song that evokes a lot of emotion in me, and I play that song. I have a Pinterest I have a Pinterest board that is called It's Already Done. And everything in that visually gives me reference points. There's 600 images in that, but there's a lot of them just evoke so much emotion in me. And it's anywhere from beautiful places to go experience and travel, to pictures of family, to pictures of all sorts of things that are just like tiny little pieces of things that I resonate with, because our minds need to be able to latch on. We don't know, right? So we need to latch on to those beautiful reference points and see those different things. And it's so cool that, there's actual algorithms on a Pinterest, app that you can pull up every single day that are feeding you more reference points every single day that actually feed into what you like to see most of. So
your vision board, right? So you're putting your vision board together of all the different things and aspects and areas of your life.
Yep. So, and that board is basically called, it's already done, because it is, once I see it in here, it already starts to manifest out here. And that song that I play, it evokes this emotion in me. So every single time, so I'll go through that board first thing in the morning when I wake up, when I have this blank slate. And after I go through it the first time with the song playing, I can just close my eyes after that and not look at the board any longer. And I can literally go into these different mental pictures and run these plays and when this song drops, it like I double the emotion and triple the emotion of experiencing that, and in the gratitude that I experience. And I come out of that visualization session, and it's not long, like it's very quick, but I come out of that and I'm so hyped. I'm so excited. I'm so grateful. I'm so ready for my day. And then I go on my run, and I change my state physically, get outside, get some sun. And so I have my vitamin D, I have my visualization, and I play that song. That's the first song that I play right when I first start running. And I don't run like a lot. I do like little sprints and kind of get my heart rate up, and then it just walk some. And it's like my fun little, moment to myself that I get to start my day off, like really planting my energy before I go out into the world. And I listen to that song again as I'm running, and I can tap right back into that emotion that I experienced when I was laying in my bed and looking at these different pictures and running all of these beautiful plays. So that's how I start my visualization every day. And I've heard so many cool ways and processes and practices that people have had. And so I am so curious, like what your process is, or if that's evolved over time, or what that looks like.
Yeah. So for me, visualization works different for different things. So like from the company standpoint, starting a business, I'm visualizing that business, that company, and the different evolutions as that company went through the different stages. So it wasn't like a daily thing or whatever. It was just like, I wanted to go do this. So I would visualize it in my head, what that company looked like, who the people were, what the office looked like, types of projects we were doing. Like before I built that $1 million house, I was seeing that house in my head and who I needed to have, to get that done. So that's from a business standpoint, a vision of a business. As far as like in my career before that, as I was evolving in the restaurants and becoming a manager and a general manager and a district manager, I visualized myself as that district manager walking into the restaurant and talking, to the managers and things like that. So I visualized myself in that role, before I got there. With my businesses, I visualized the business. What does it look like? If it's a real estate deal, or a development deal, I'm visualizing that project literally down to the last detail before it ever comes out of the ground. When it comes to, physical manifestations of my body and visualizing, how I want to be in the health, it's goals, right? So it's vision. You have the vision board. What you focus on expands, right? So whatever has your focus, that's what's going to expand. What you think about, you will become. That's real. That's true. Thoughts are real things. So you want to make sure you're focused on the right things, and you want to make sure you're making the right choices that's going to help you get there. And you want to make sure you reverse engineer that vision. Mm-hmm. So it's great to have a vision, but then you need to map it, and you need to map that vision and put it into an action plan. So if your goal is that vacation destination that you've seen, how can I? Mm-hmm. So take that vision and reverse engineer it so you know what you need to be focused on every single day to get there. Health and nutrition. Every decision I make, is it going to get me closer to my goal? So if you think about food, that's the hardest thing, right? The real work of a fit lifestyle is done in the kitchen. So, I'm a sweets junkie. I love ice cream. I love, that's always been my Achilles heel. So whenever I'm faced with that choice, I don't even keep it around, but whenever I'm thinking about it, it pops into my head. I get it out of my head by going, that's not going to get me closer to my goal. It's going to take me away, and then there's times when you can indulge and enjoy things, but if you're not on track and you're not where you want to be from a body fat or whatever it is, or how you feel when you're running, that what you put in your body is going to affect how you feel on that run. So is it getting you closer to your goal? And then when you're out there, you're closer to where you want to be than where you were the day before, because you've made the right choices, you've taken the action, and you see the results, whether it's in your body, your life, your trading, your business, whatever it is. Those are the things you want to focus on and visualize. What are the right actions, the right choices, the right decisions that I need to be doing and taking every single day in order to reach that goal? Kind of like if you want to be the best hitter in the world and you're playing baseball, you want to have, you want to bat 500, you want to be the world record holding home run hitter. Okay, that's great. Visualize yourself hitting those home runs. And, Mark McGwire, when he was setting those records, he would visualize his at bat every single time before he got up. He would literally visualize himself walking out up to the plate, grabbing the bat, swinging, watching the ball go, and he would hit it to where he visualized it. Golfers do the same thing. Athletes do the same thing. So when it comes to, what it is you're trying to achieve, and let's say you want to be that greatest hitter and you have that vision, okay, that's great. Now you need a plan to get there. So if you want to be able to hit 5 out of every 10 balls that come at you, then you probably need to practice every single day, because that's a lot of swings you got to take. So maybe you need to be swinging 10,000 times a day in order to get to that point. And if you're swinging 10,000 times a day, that's, so many times an hour. And, you just kind of reverse engineer those things so that you have an actual map so that it matches the vision, and you have a roadmap to get there so it becomes a reality. Then there's the other visualization of the big thing. So the house. Let's say I want to own this big $10 million house or whatever it is. You want to visualize it in great detail, write down every aspect of it, clear picture of it, fold that thing up, put it away. And then you watch one day, you're going to come back to it, and that's going to be your house. So there's different types of visualizations, for different things. But the key is what you focus on will become your reality. So be careful what you focus on.
I feel that's all I have to say. It's just like drop the mic, like 100%. Okay, I have a couple of fun questions that I want to run by you really quick before we wrap up. And one is, what's something that they didn't teach you in school that you had to learn the hard way?
Everything.
True.
How to think. So, in school, where I went through high school, college, they teach you a little bit more, somewhat about how to, at least, how to research and how to process and think, but they really don't teach you how to think and how to be resourceful.
No, that 100%. What's one thing that you're turning from a thought to a thing right now in your life?
So right now, from a thought to a thing, it's this, so I have a vision for my education company and business that I'm doing, and, really reaching people with that and helping people with that. And, that's transforming lives all around the world. So that to me is huge. And I have a big vision for that.
One piece of advice for a brand new investor or entrepreneur.
Get a mentor. Find somebody who has done and is doing what it is you want to do. Learn from them.
Number one book that you would recommend to them?
Number one book for people starting out, I would say, wow, there's so many. Probably
top three.
The top 3. Yeah. So, Think and Grow Rich, Power of Positive Thinking, and Rich Dad, Poor Dad, How to Win Friends and Influence People. I mean, those are my 4 core books. And of course, whatever your faith is, the Bible, whatever it is, that's always core as well. But yeah, it was really those 4 put together. There really is no one book.
What do you do daily to keep you in the green zone? Obviously working out is one of them.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, working out, so the biggest thing is, here's another big takeaway. I have 0 backlog in my life, 0. So I take care of everything right now. So I respond immediately to phone calls, text messages, emails. I take care of it. I either file it, delete it, or, respond to it right away. So whatever it is, I take care of it right now. I don't leave anything for tomorrow that I can take care of today. And, so that's, I'm an immediate follow up and follow through guy. I'm the kind of guy that you ask me something, you never have to think about it twice. So for me, having 0 backlog in your life, it reduces stress, anxiety. It just frees you up, in so many ways. But I just do what I do. I just, it's just not, there is no alternative, right? I just get up and it's part of my life. I get up, I make my bed, I go to the gym. Those are, that's just like taking a shower, right? That's just part of what I do. And, what really motivates me, what really feeds me is helping other people achieve success and achieve their goals and impact the world in their way. That's where I've always been wired. It's what I've always done. And all the companies I built, my goal was to keep everybody busy, help everybody be successful, help everybody make money, because we all win and everybody can impact the world together. And we need to make the world a better place. And that's how you do it. It starts right here. So, I mean, that's what motivates me. That's what keeps me going, is helping other people, encouraging other people. And Jessica, watching you grow, flourish, maybe one thing out of this that you can take away today, and it just changes your life. That's why I do what I do. That's why I get up every morning, because you have so much potential you don't even realize right now. And when you do, you'll be able to look back and hopefully say, maybe one thing Greg showed me or said, that made a huge difference in my life. That, I'll take that to my grave all day long. You can have everything else.
Wow. You gave me way more than one thing, just so you know, but that last thing that you just said about not letting any tabs left open, like you don't leave any tabs open. The amount of tabs that I have in my brain and the amount of communication that I'm juggling at all times, it's that if I could just get to the point where that's so automatic and so habit, because that's a habit for you now. You've programmed your mind to just do and to not reason with yourself. There's no reasoning whatsoever. It's just like, if I can do this right now, I'm going to do it, but you've programmed yourself into doing that. So,
and I have people. So here's another big one for you too.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be one or two things in your life and what you do every day that's really going to move the ball forward in the different areas of your life. Health, mental, physical, spiritual, business, one or two things that you need to be focused on and doing every day that's going to really propel you forward and nothing else. So do those things yourself, delegate everything else out. So, I'm a leader, delegator, motivator. So I delegate everything out that I don't need to be focused on. And I focus on the one or two things that I need to be doing every day in those areas that are going to move the ball forward. I'm in that gym every day. I'm taking care of the important things I need to take care of. Everything else just gets delegated out, and I don't mess with it. That's the real key. Most people get too busy being busy, the tabs. So there's going to be one or two things. So think about where you want to be, where you are right now. What are those one or two things that would instantly propel you to where you want to be, and delegate everything else out. Focus on those one or two things.
This is going to be my homework, and I'm going to report back on those things, because there's definitely things right now that I have in my world that can be delegated that I'm not delegating, and that are taking my energy away from the ball moving forward things. So I appreciate you saying that. And I'm going to, I for accountability purposes, I'm going to report back. I appreciate this conversation so much. And I know the value that you just added to this audience is so huge, so huge. And I'm so excited that you're partnering with Verified Investing and going to be one of the educators on our platform. It's just going to be such an incredible journey. I already know. I want everybody to know where they can find you though. So what are the socials or website? What are the ways that people can find Greg Dickerson?
Again, I'm an efficiency guru, right? GregDickerson.com. Everything lives there. One website, it's all there.
Perfect. We're going to make sure that flashes across the screen so that everybody can go find you. I seriously cannot thank you enough for your time, your energy, your wisdom, your knowledge, your perspective, your insight, all of it. I mean, it has just been so incredible. And I have gotten so much out of this conversation. I'm walking away with my cup so filled, and I'm so grateful. So thank you so much, my friend, for joining us on Verified Mindset.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
Awesome.